It may not sound like much, but it's the only thing that I've got. It's no fancy vehicle or no fancy ride, but it does take me where I need to be. The ride's only 2.1 miles, from 393 Main Street to 516 Monument Street. The ride only takes 15 minutes on that brand new blue and yellow striped specialized bike that you got as an early graduation gift. Pedal, 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 and you always be one step closer. Once you've reached your destination, you'll feel like you're back where you started. Home. My home is Fen. Fen's been a very special place to me throughout the last 5 years, starting from the tide pool trip in 4th grade to Windsor Mountain in 8th grade. To be pedaling for 5 years is a pretty long time if you ask me. The road I pedaled to Fen was a long, smooth road, but the only hill I had to beat was quite a steep hill, and apparently there was a sign marking the name of that hill, and it clearly said in big bold letters, English Class Hill, straight ahead, 9 miles. I've always hated English class. I was never at the top of my class writing-wise. Just when I always thought I had nailed an assigned writing piece, I had always done something wrong and got no advice or tips for what I could do to do better the next time. This all changed when I walked into my first day of English class on the very first day of school with Mr. John Fitzsimmons himself. I've heard from some friends that Fitz is one of the greatest teachers you'll ever have, but I still didn't know what to expect. When I walked into the first day of my 8th grade English class, there was a different vibe in the room. I could already tell that something was going to be different with this class. I felt so much more different than lower school language arts or middle school IS. I thought I would finally succeed in my challenge of writing. I was never able to sit in front of my laptop, open up a Word document, and write a wham-dammer of an essay, a paragraph, or a fictional story. The only thing that was different with English, we actually got to use technology as a tool every single day. Those were probably the greatest words I had heard in my day. I hated handwriting. I honestly think that I have the worst penmanship in the world, and that makes teachers pretty angry. And when teachers get angry, they begin to dislike you. When they begin to dislike you, there's a high chance you could end up with some bad grades, and when you get bad grades, everything just starts to go downhill from there. Even though there was no paper allowed, it didn't change the fact that I was still a terrible writer. I never considered myself as a writer. I thought I was a terrible writer from day one. Then it came to me. I got the help from the greatest teacher I had ever met, Mr. Fitz. I didn't know I was such a good writer after all the techniques he had taught me. I used to have struggled with writing a lot. I considered myself so bad I couldn't even write a topic sentence the right way. It took me a really long time to find the right route for becoming a better writer, and Fitz was part of helping me finding that road. Now I can write a topic sentence without even thinking about what to say. I felt like I've really grown as a writer this year. I got to know Mr. Fitz really well, and now we have a good relationship. Oh, and did I forget to mention that Fitz is also my advisor? Even an advisor, I get along with Fitz. He gives me a lot of useful tips for writing, life, and other general things one encounters in life. Just like the famous Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, which makes me think writing is just like a stage that can be done with however you want, with whatever you want, and whenever you want. Writing is something you can do everywhere, and nobody cares what you write about. A love story, a sci-fi story, or even a biography. Nobody cares, but you, about what you write. Writing can be a wide-open galaxy where there are endless possibilities. I always thought that writing stories would be one of my biggest strengths this year in English. I decided to write my very first story on my first ski race and how I ended up in the hospital with a concussion. Now, you all may have heard this example before, but it seriously was the very first blog post I had, so bear with me. It took me a couple of hours to write the story because I wasn't really in my writing mode because it was the beginning of the fall term. But in the end, I was very happy with my completed work. The next morning, I had submitted my writing into Schoology, feeling proud and strong for what I had done. Later that day, being the grading Fitz whiz is, he had grading my story. I was a bit anxious to find out what my grade is, but I couldn't wait to get the good grade feeling off my chest so I could stand there like a chest plate, hard and strong. That moment I saw that 90 percentile, I was enlightened. My heart was racing, and I could already feel like I was on the right track for where I wanted to go throughout the course of this class. I had thought to myself, was Fitz impressed with my style of writing, or was he feeding me a softball on my very first assignment of the year? I didn't even think about it. My rest of the fall term went great. I understood the comma rules, understood the types of paragraph forms, the whole 9 yards. The next term, the winter term, is always one of my biggest struggles for getting good grades. I walked into class feeling energetic and ready to learn. Fitz gathered us together for the first 15 minutes of class, just like he always does. He talked to us about his blog, The Crafted Word, what he puts on it, and he told us that we were going to start our own. I thought that having a blog would be kind of stupid and nerdy. But Fitz said I needed more practice with my writing, even though I've been pretty good for the last term. And I thought that this would be the perfect tool for the job. I started blogging immediately. By now, I think I have some pretty good content up on my blog, and I think I've gotten some good grades on some of the pieces that I've written. Now, here we are in the spring term. We're wrapping everything up, finishing any spring projects, and starting to prepare for exams. Just like Mr. Sean Patch said himself, spring is a dangerous time. I completely agree with that phrase because it's the spring term. It could be the perfect time to succeed or completely fall apart and mess up everything. You know, after giving it a lot of thought, eating a cow is a very hard thing to do. This may sound like no easy task, but in English, it's a lot easier. Oh, wait, who am I kidding? It's a lot harder. Teachers give us so much homework these days. Poem miners, ballad mongers, 4 journal posts that have to look like this and be this long, and it just never ends. Oh, and the best part is that teachers cram all this work to us that's due in 3, maybe 4 days if you're lucky. Understanding the metaphor, eat your cow, is a bit confusing. Fitz told us a crazy, yet probably true, story about a knight who really wanted to marry the king's daughter. The king said that the knight could marry the princess if he ate a really fat cow in 1 month. If the knight failed, the king would hold the knight's head. The knight agreed and the contest began. 1 month is a pretty short ride. So the knight slacked off for about 3 weeks and then remembered that he had a fat cow to eat. 1 week later, the knight's head was all that remained. My point is, if you have an assignment to do, don't wait until the very last second, just like I did for this essay. Fenn has been a very special place for me for 5 years running, just like I said at the beginning. Fenn has helped me look more into myself and find out who I really am. Fenn has also taught me to become smarter, more humorous with my teachers and friends, and to enjoy my time at Fenn to its limits. Fenn has always been a second home to me. Everyone at Fenn has made me feel comfortable and welcomed. When I look at myself in the mirror, I get all confused of what I see because it's something different every time. Throughout the year, I feel like I've matured more. Being the person I am now is going to really set me up for where I'm going in the rest of my life. And Fenn has done a very good job of making me turn into a young man with good discipline and hardship. Even though I'll be pedaling on to Boston College High School next year, I'll always keep the memories I made at Fenn strong in my head. Going to BC High next year will be no easy task, but I'm sure that Fenn gave me a starting boost to prepare me. Once I get back on my bike to leave Fenn, taking that road to high school will be quite a long ride, but at least it brings me back where I want to be most. Home.